Spare change for coffee? The voice, rough but familiar, snagged Eleanor's heart. Kevin? Her brilliant Kevin? Huddled here, eyes hollowed, future stolen? What nightmare swallowed him whole? Eleanor Vance clutched her purse tighter, the cold, November wind biting at her cheeks seeming insignificant compared to the chill spreading through her chest. Kevin Johnson. It couldn't be. Not the boy who'd aced her AP history class, the captain of the debate team, the one whose scholarship essays she'd personally proofread, predicting Ivy League acceptance letters. That Kevin had eyes that sparkled with intelligence, a quick wit, a future stretching bright and limitless before him. This man huddled against the grimy brick wall of the downtown library annex looked extinguished. His clothes were layers of mismatched, worn garments, inadequate against the Chicago chill. A battered baseball cap shadowed eyes that seemed too old, too weary for someone barely in his mid-20s. A cardboard sign scrawled with, "Anything helps, God bless," rested against his knee. A stained paper cup sat hopefully empty beside him. Eleanor, retired now for 3 years after 4 decades teaching history at Northwood High, felt a wave of nausea. Disappointment, sharp and bitter, washed over her. Drugs? Bad choices? Laziness? What else could explain such a catastrophic fall from grace? She remembered his graduation speech, full of hope and ambition, quoting historians, promising to make a difference. This was the antithesis of that promise. She almost turned away, the sight too painful, too jarring. But she couldn't. He had been her student, one of her brightest. She felt a reluctant sense of responsibility, mingled with a potent curiosity she couldn't quite suppress. Taking a deep breath, she stepped closer, her sensible shoes crunching on the salt-strewn sidewalk. "Kevin?" she asked softly, her voice trembling slightly. "Kevin Johnson, is that really you?" The man looked up sharply, his eyes widening in stunned recognition. He scrambled slightly, trying to pull himself more upright, a flush creeping up his neck from beneath the layers of clothing. Shame radiated off him in palpable waves. "Mrs. Vance?" he croaked, his voice rougher than she remembered, strained. What are you doing here?" "I live just a few blocks away," Eleanor said, trying to keep her tone neutral, masking the shock, the pity, the burgeoning judgment. "Kevin, what happened? Why are you—" She gestured vaguely at his sign, the cup. Kevin looked away, staring fixedly at a crack in the pavement. "Hard times, Mrs. Vance. Just hard times." His voice was low, evasive. He wouldn't meet her eyes. Eleanor's teacher instincts kicked in, the desire to understand, to fix, overriding her initial shock. "Hard times?" She pressed gently, pulling a $20 bill from her purse. "Here, take this. Get yourself something hot to eat." "But Kevin, talk to me. You had scholarships, plans. What went wrong? Are you having trouble with addiction?" She braced herself for the expected denial, the lies, the deflection. Kevin looked at the $20 bill in her hand, then back at her face, his expression unreadable for a moment. He didn't reach for the money. Instead, a flicker of something that looked almost like fear crossed his features before being quickly masked. "No, Mrs. Vance, nothing like that," he said quickly, too quickly. "Just bad luck. Lost my job, apartment fell through, trying to get back on my feet." He finally took the 20, folding it carefully, tucking it deep into a pocket. "Thank you. I appreciate it. You should probably go now. It's cold." He was dismissing her, shutting down the conversation. But his nervousness felt off. It wasn't just shame. It was something else. Something akin to anxiety, maybe even fear. She saw him glance furtively down the street, his gaze lingering on a nondescript black sedan, parked halfway down the block. Just street paranoia? Or something more specific? Eleanor hesitated. Her instinct told her there was more to this story than bad luck. But pushing felt wrong, intrusive. Maybe he needed space. "All right, Kevin," she said reluctantly. "But if you need help, real help, finding resources, anything. You know where the high school is. Leave a message. I still volunteer sometimes." He nodded curtly, avoiding her eyes again. "Thanks, Mrs. Vance." Eleanor walked away, her mind racing, the encounter replaying itself. His evasiveness, the flicker of fear, the glance towards the car. It didn't fit the narrative of someone simply down on their luck or struggling with addiction. Addicts might be evasive, yes, but usually driven by the need for the next fix, often more brazen in their requests. Kevin seemed contained, guarded, purposefully minimizing interaction. Over the next few weeks, Eleanor couldn't shake the image of Kevin from her mind. She found excuses to walk past the library annex. Sometimes he was there, huddled in the same spot, quiet, observant. Other times he was gone. She noticed he never seemed to accumulate much money in his cup, despite the relatively busy location. He rarely engaged with passers-by beyond a quiet murmur if someone offered change. He seemed more focused on watching the street, the flow of traffic, the people passing by. It felt less like begging and more like surveillance or hiding in plain sight. One afternoon she saw him talking animatedly, almost arguing, with a sharply dressed man who leaned casually against the wall. Nearby, the man radiated impatience, his gestures sharp. Kevin looked agitated, shaking his head vehemently. Then the man noticed Eleanor watching from across the street. He gave Kevin a curt nod, straightened up, and walked briskly away, disappearing into the crowd. Kevin immediately sank back into his huddled posture, pulling his cap lower, his brief flash of animation gone as if it never happened. Who was that man? He didn't look like a social worker or someone offering help. He looked like pressure, like trouble. Eleanor felt a growing unease. This wasn't just hard times. Kevin was entangled in something. She decided to try a different approach. She baked cookies, her famous chocolate chip walnut, the ones Kevin used to devour after debate practice, and packed them in a sturdy container along with a thermos of hot soup. She found him near the annex again, looking colder, more drawn than before. She offered the food quietly. "Thought you might need something warm, Kevin." He looked surprised, then suspicious. "Why are you doing this, Mrs. Vance?" "Because you were my student," she said simply. "And you look like you could use a friend." He hesitated, then slowly accepted the thermos and cookies, his rough fingers brushing hers briefly. He didn't thank her immediately, just held the warm thermos as if absorbing its heat. They sat in silence for a few minutes, the noise of the city swirling around them. "It's not what you think," Kevin said suddenly, his voice low, barely audible above the traffic. Eleanor waited, not pushing. "I didn't drop out. I didn't get hooked on anything." He took a shaky sip of the soup. "I saw something. Something I wasn't supposed to see." This was it. The midpoint twist. The confirmation that her unease was justified. "Saw what, Kevin?" she asked gently. He glanced around nervously, his eyes scanning the street, lingering again on parked cars, anonymous faces in the crowd. "I was working nights," he explained, keeping his voice down. "Cleaning crew at the offices of Omnicorp downtown, trying to save money, pay off some family medical debt my mom racked up before she passed. I was finishing my degree during the day. It was tough, but I was managing." He paused, swallowing hard. "One night, working late on the executive floor, I walked in on a meeting I shouldn't have. Top executives. Councilman Davies was there too. They weren't talking business strategies." His eyes darkened. "They were talking about burying toxic waste, illegally, out near Miller's Quarry, falsifying reports, paying off inspectors. Davies was facilitating it, getting kickbacks." Eleanor gasped. Councilman Davies? A respected local politician, always championing environmental causes in public. Omnicorp, a major employer, lauded for its community involvement. It seemed unthinkable. "They saw me," Kevin continued, his voice barely a whisper now, raw with fear. Just for a second. But they saw me. I ran. Quit the job the next day. Tried to lay low, finish my semester. But then, weird things started happening. My apartment was broken into, nothing taken. My car tires slashed. Anonymous calls. Silence on the other end. I went to the police. He laughed bitterly. A short, sharp sound. They didn't believe me. No proof. Just the word of a night shift janitor against Omnicorp and a city councilman? They told me I was, imagining things. Or making it up. So you... Eleanor prompted. I disappeared, Kevin said, his gaze haunted. Dropped off the grid. Couldn't risk leading them to my family, what little I have left. Couldn't finish school. Couldn't hold a normal job. They'd find me through paperwork. So I ended up here, looking like this. He gestured at himself with self-loathing. Trying to be invisible. Trying to figure out what to do, who to trust. He looked directly at Eleanor, his eyes pleading. You can't tell anyone, Mrs. Vance. Anyone. They're dangerous. They have reach. If they know I talked to you... The fear in his eyes was real, palpable. Eleanor felt cold dread wash over her. He wasn't exaggerating. Powerful corporations, corrupt politicians. Stories like this rarely ended well for the whistleblower. Her former student wasn't a failure. He was a witness, a target, hiding in the most desperate way imaginable. Her desire to help now felt naive, inadequate. Offering cookies and soup seemed laughably insufficient against such a threat. But she couldn't just walk away. Not now. Kevin, she said, her voice firm despite the tremor of fear she felt. You need proper help, legal protection. Maybe witness protection? Kevin shook his head vehemently. Too risky. Who can I trust? How do I even start? They have eyes everywhere. He looked down the street again, his body tensing. Like that guy you saw me talking to earlier. He works for them. Ex-cop, private security now. He checks in sometimes. Reminds me they know where I am. Reminds me to keep my mouth shut. Eleanor followed his gaze. The black sedan she'd noticed before was back, parked further down this time, almost hidden in the afternoon shadows. Was it really watching Kevin? Or was paranoia getting the better of them both? Suddenly, Kevin shoved the thermos and cookies back towards her. You need to go, Mrs. Vance. Now. Don't come back here. Don't try to contact me. It's too dangerous for you. He scrambled to his feet, grabbing his sign and cup, melting quickly into the flow of pedestrians heading towards the subway entrance. Eleanor sat frozen on the bench, the rejected soup growing cold in her hands. The black sedan pulled slowly away from the curb, its tinted windows revealing nothing, and disappeared around the corner. Was it a coincidence or a warning? She was left alone on the cold sidewalk, the hidden truth laid bare. Kevin wasn't begging for change. He was begging for his life, trapped in a terrifying limbo orchestrated by powerful men who operated in the shadows. Her brilliant student hadn't thrown his future away. It had been stolen by corruption, leaving him strategically hidden amongst the city's forgotten. His former teacher now burdened with a secret that felt as dangerous as it was heartbreaking. How thin is the line between misfortune and malice? And what invisible systems protect the powerful by crushing those who stumble upon the truth? Drop your theory in the comments and subscribe for more stories where desperation hides a dangerous secret.